There was a young girl in a small village. She had grown up listening to fairy tales about how a beautiful princess could marry a handsome prince and live happily ever after. She dreamed of one day finding her own Prince Charming, someone who would love and cherish her, someone with whom she could spend the rest of her life. As the girl grew older, she became the talk of the town, not because of her beauty, but because of her naivety. Everyone thought she was too innocent for her own good. They warned her that someday she might get hurt. But the girl paid no heed to their advice. She continued to dream about her perfect fairy tale ending until one day she met him. He was a man of status and power, much older than her, but the girl did not care. She saw only what she wanted to see. In his eyes, she found the love and devotion of her so-called prince. And in his status and power, she saw the means to a comfortable life. The engagement was announced, and soon the whole village was abuzz with excitement. They were eager to see the wedding ceremony of the most talked-about couple in town. On the day of the wedding, the girl looked beautiful. She wore a white gown that symbolized purity and innocence, a veil that hid her face and covered her in mystery, and red roses that symbolized love and passion, or so she thought. As she walked down the aisle towards the altar, she felt like a princess. She was about to marry her prince. But then she saw his face. He was not the handsome prince she had dreamed of. His face was etched with wrinkles, and his eyes held a coldness that made her shiver. Still, she went ahead with the wedding. She exchanged vows with a man she barely knew, consummate the marriage with a stranger. And as the night wore on, she realized that she had made a terrible mistake. She had traded her innocence for a nightmare. Now, when people came to visit and asked about the bride, her so-called mother-in-law would say, "Ah, she's busy. She can't come to the door right now." Then she would turn to the bride and say, "Why don't you come, child? After all, you have nothing else to do." And each time, the bride would shake her head and go back to her room. She tried to console herself by saying that her in-laws were probably just being polite, and that they would soon warm up to her. But weeks turned into months, and the cold reception continued. She was still just a face in the crowd, an unnoticed pawn in their game of social status. Then one day, the truth came out. Her in-laws had never liked her. They had only pretended to be welcoming to hide their true feelings. Now that the deed was done, they no longer had to pretend. They treated her coldly because they hated her. The bride was devastated. She had been so sure that she had found the love of her life, someone who would make her happy ever after. But now she was just a nobody in her own husband's house. She missed her old life, her friends and family, her freedom and independence. But it was too late now. She had made her bed and she had to lie in it. Now, every day she woke up before sunrise and went to bed after sunset. She cooked meals, cleaned the house, and took care of her husband's needs. She did everything she could to make him happy, but he never even noticed. He was always too busy with his work or with other women. She was trapped in a loveless marriage with a man who didn't even know that she existed. The bride tried everything she could to make her husband love her, but nothing worked. He was never interested in her. He never wanted to spend time with her. He never even looked at her. For years, the bride lived in her own private hell. She hated her life. She hated her husband. She hated herself for being so stupid. She couldn't understand why he had married her. She wasn't beautiful. She wasn't intelligent. She wasn't funny. She had nothing to offer him. She began to withdraw from the world. She stopped talking to people. She stopped going out. She stopped caring about anything. She just lay in bed all day doing nothing. She was depressed. She didn't want to live anymore. One day, the bride decided that she couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't live like this anymore. She had to do something. So she went to her husband and told him that she wanted a divorce. At first, he didn't even respond. He just looked at her as if she were a bug that had flown into his house. Then he finally spoke. "Why do you want a divorce?" he asked. "Because I don't love you," she replied. "I never did." "That's not possible," he said. "You're my wife. You're supposed to love me." "I'm sorry," she said, "but I just can't do it." "I'm sorry, but I never loved you." "I'm sorry, but I never will." "You're not serious," he said. "Of course I am," she replied. "Then get out," he said. "Get out of my house right now." "I'm sorry," she said, "but I can't do that. This is my home. It's not your home," he said angrily. "This is my home. You were just a guest here, and guests are always welcome to leave." "I'm sorry," she said, "but I can't do that. This is my home." "You're just a guest here," he said coldly, "and guests are always welcome to leave." The bride was stunned. She had never seen this side of her husband before. He was usually so calm and controlled, but now he was angry, really angry. She was scared. She didn't want to upset him anymore, so she just nodded and left the house. She didn't know where she was going, but she didn't care. All she knew was that she needed to get away from her husband. She needed to escape from the nightmare that had become her life. She needed to find somewhere, anywhere, where she could start over, where she could be someone new, where she could finally be happy. She wandered around for days, sleeping in the streets and begging for food. She was desperate, hungry, and most of all, alone. She missed her family, her friends, her old life. She regretted everything she had done. She wished she could go back in time and do it all over again, but she couldn't. She had made her bed and she had to lie in it. Finally, she came across a small village. It was just a cluster of huts made out of mud and straw, but it looked like heaven to her. She walked in and soon people started staring at her. She was different from them. She was dressed in fine clothes and she had a strange accent. One of the villagers approached her and asked, "Can I help you?" "Yes," she said. "Where can I stay? Where can I get food? Where can I start over?" "You can stay with us," said the woman. "We have plenty of room, and you can work on the farm. We need someone to help us out." "Thank you," said the bride. "That would be wonderful." The bride spent the next few years working on the farm. She grew crops. She took care of the animals. She helped out in any way she could. She was strong and hardworking, and the villagers appreciated it. They welcomed her into their community, and she began to feel like she belonged somewhere again. One day, one of the villagers asked her, "Why did you come to our village? Why did you leave your old life behind?" The bride hesitated, but then she decided to tell the truth. She told the villagers about her loveless marriage, about her horrible husband, about her failed life. The villagers were shocked. They couldn't believe that such a thing could happen. But they were also sympathetic. They understood that the bride had been through a lot, and they were happy to have her in their village. They said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." And they kept their promise. They treated her like family, and she began to feel like she was finally home. She had found the love and acceptance she had always craved. She had found the friendship and support she had always needed. She had found the peace of mind she had always longed for. In the end, the bride realized that her fairy tale had not come true. She had not married her Prince Charming. She had not lived happily ever after. But she had found something even better. She had found a place where she was loved and accepted for who she was. A place where she could finally be happy.